Hey, today's quote of the day is by one of our most distinguished historians, Brother Carter G. Woodson. As you can see, this quote is very, very key to what's happening to us today. So I'll go ahead and read the quote. The poverty which afflicted them for a generation after emancipation held them down to the lowest order of society, nominally free, but economically enslaved. Think about that for a second. Uh, this quote came out of the book that Brother Carter G. Woodson is so famously known for, called The Miseducation of the Negro. This book was written in 1933. That's 4 score and 5 years ago. So 85 years ago, for putting layman's terms, from today, which is 2018, and that was in 1933. So it's very peculiar that this was written 85 years ago, but yet it still applies today. The exact things he's saying in this quote can be applied today. We're nominally free, right? Our physical bodies are free to do as we so please, but we're still economically enslaved. But then you could also add on to that our minds are enslaved as well, because we as Black folks are taught and trained to purchase things from other folks to enrich them, to be consumers and not producers, right? So that's why we end up being economically enslaved. If you go to some of the reports that are out there today, as it relates to the economic status of Black people in the U.S. versus white folks, you can look at like one of the studies that the Urban League did in 2016, talks about the wealth gap between Black folks and white folks. And obviously there's going to be a huge wealth gap because they stole this country, they stole our labor, enslaved us for over 500 years. But essentially what they're saying, if you look at today, so it's $6,000 is the average wealth that a Black person has, and $100,000 is the average wealth that a white person has. So one of the things we got to understand is nothing has really changed from what it was 85 years ago. Or if you even go back even further, say you go back 8 score and 10 years ago, it's still the same as it was 160 years ago, right? So, or 170 years ago, as it is today in current times, as it relates to the relationship between Black folks and white folks. And much of it is economically based. That's the thing we must understand. The reason why they brought us over here in the first place was for money. So we have to understand that this is not a moral argument. We're not going to trick them into all of a sudden having a conscience because they've never had one in the first place. So that's what's so funny to me. You got these folks running out here talking about we have to give them a moral argument. We got to pray for them and also the nonsense. You got Sharpton and them out there begging them with the National Action Network, and Brother Jesse out there begging them with the Rainbow Push Coalition. But the thing you have to look out for those two people, they're being paid off at this point. They're no longer really working for us as Black folks. We're just paid con artists, essentially, to continue that process so that we continue to be shills for these different interest groups out there, i.e. the Democrats and the Republicans. There's no difference between a Democrat and a Republican, because at the end of the day, there's a right hand and there's a left hand. The right hand is the Republican, the left hand is the Democrat, but they're on the same body, and that body is white supremacy. And so that's one of the things we have to understand as Black folks, that we have to understand that we need to be economically free, not economically slaves, because you can be free physically but still be enslaved mentally as well. And if you don't have a strong economic base, then all the other things that we need to do as a people will not come to fruition. And so we need to focus on that in 2018 and beyond, and focus our efforts on becoming economically independent. And the funny thing is, the hometown I'm from, recently a friend of mine posted on Facebook talking about how they moved all the Black grocery stores out of the Black neighborhood, and it's a travesty and all this other stuff. Well, first thing I was like, well, brother, we got to stop complaining and do something about it. We have enough of us that have the knowledge base to be able to get a grocery store and put it in our community, because we know it's a need, right? There's enough suppliers out there to supply us with foods. And if we don't have people who supply us with foods, there are enough black farmers out there that can do so. It's, that we can talk to. And in that part of town, the real estate's so cheap because all the white folks are leaving. And, once that happens, the real estate value drops. We got to stop complaining about what these white folks aren't doing for us and be with ourselves. Because the thing we have to understand is they're not our friend. As our good brother, Dr. John Henry Clark, and a lot of us like to call Prophet Clark, said, it was 25, 30 years ago, black people, we have no friends. And we have to understand that. We have no friends. So your only friend is that person looking you right in the mirror. That black face. Look at that black face and love that black face, because that's going to be your friend. And look at all the other black faces like that look like yours. And try to befriend those people. But realize some of those may not be your friend. They could be your enemy. But try to be friends with those people who look like you. Because we have to build a coalition together as black folks so that we can survive in this world for not only today, but for the next generation and the generation after that, and so forth and so on. Because we're in a struggle, in a war to gain back our right and our freedom to control our own destiny, to be the masters of our own fate, and be the masters of this universe. And that really needs to be our goal, is to be the masters of this universe. And the white folks, they like to call it the NWO, right? The New World Order. And so that's what we have to bring into play. They brought into play a New World Order 1,000 years ago when they suppressed us and took over Africa and put us at the bottom of the rung. But now we need to flip that back over. We have to understand these things come in cycles. No one's going to be on top forever. We have to understand that it's our rightful place that we be on top and be the masters of the universe and control our own destiny. And it's not even natural for any man to be looking up at another man, begging him to provide for him and his family. He needs to be able to provide for his family himself. So going back to the quote, the poverty which afflicted them for a generation after emancipation held them down to the lowest order of society, nominally free, but economically enslaved. Brothers and sisters, we must no longer be nominally free, yet economically enslaved. That's all I got for today. Holler at you tomorrow.